Okay, here's a look at the markets for Tuesday, January the 3rd, 2017. So the ES had an interesting move overnight because it moved well above the 43 area, which was that reaction low that we have been monitoring after the FOMC a couple of weeks ago. And you see it actually opened below it because I think we closed on Friday somewhere around 35, so it was, substantially higher open, 6 points or so. Moved above it right away, tried to hold above it, couldn't. Came back down here and tested that low, um, and eventually took it out, but turned right around and then started to trade above that red bar, which is level two. So started to hold above it here and then just continue to rally. This is when the European session opened. We got some more aggressive buying in there. Did come back and test this blues low, it looks like, and then go up and then all the way to 55 um, as a high for the overnight session. So one of the resistance areas we had up in that area was at 55.50, which was basically where it hit here. So and that was a nice fractal high that was formed back on Wednesday, last Wednesday, when the market had a good sell-off and a good bounce, and then it started to sell off again, and that's where that really good sell-off started around 55.50. The next level up was around 58. So, a, I think a fairly important move overnight. Telling us that the bulls are still alive and kicking and going to go ahead and try and move that market higher. So what we ended up by seeing today was a day it more or less closed where it opened. You can see here it opened here. It had that initial bounce here, and then came back down, traded well inside yesterday's range, actually back below 43, and then had a nice little bounce to finish the session. So it looks to me that this 43 area, which is right in here, has been defended by the bulls, and even after the move, sharply below it, all the way down to 28 there, as you can see, that occurred last week. So a good move up by the bulls, and this is in my opinion, a bullish development because after the close yesterday, I'm sorry, not yesterday, but on Friday, we had all of this consolidation here, went up, tried to get above, couldn't, and then finally broke down lower and had good follow through last Friday. So it looked like this was, kind of the start of more down to come, possibly into this area. I think I was mentioning that on the video last time, and then down into this area, 2180. But obviously we didn't get that, and some good buying came in. So I think this is because I put the short-term bias to down after it held below 43 on Friday, but I turned it back up on a short-term bias to up because of this turn that we had today and a nice move above 43. Now we did come down and test below 43, as you can see here. So the market opened right about here, had a good move up to start off, and you can see it came here, which is basically the base of the selling tail from that big sell-off last Wednesday, and then it sold off, and our 43 is roughly here, so you can see that we did spend some time below it, but then had a nice finish here. So it appears to me that this move that we had last week to sell off so far has been rejected. So I think the controlling hand is back in the bulls, as far as I can tell. So you can see here's the 43 level that we've been monitoring. It did come down there and obviously stagger a little bit in this time frame, but then move considerably below it. Turned right around and had a good rally. So looking at 48.50 as the first support, and then 42.50 with the next targets up here. Pretty much at today's high, maybe a little bit lower in this area here, but that's I think something that we should look at. So here's the sell-off on the rally today. So I'm first of all going to mark in the 43 level right about here. So this was, I think, a good reference area. Now the market had that high at 55.50, which is right here in the overnight market. So it opened in here. We did have a good magenta high velocity move. The market, it took a while to hold below, but it did hold below. But then a blue bar came in and started to move above it, and we went above the high of that magenta with pretty good confidence, as you can see, with a couple of buying high velocity moves. We had some green bars in there and some blue bars. So, pretty powerful move. The market showing that it's got some stuff. So now that move up to 59.50 was just above that 58 area I was just mentioning. But then right off the bat, we had this magenta bar going the other way. So that's obviously a heads up that, maybe it's gotten high enough quickly enough to attract some selling. It kind of sideways there for a while, but then once it had moved back down below here, and then in particular back down below here, we really had to think twice about the strength of these buyers that took the market up. Of course, we had questioned the strength of the sellers here, especially during this time frame in here, when we would expect the market to hold as some sort of resistance barrier. It did initially here when it popped up and then came down, made a new low, but then we got some blue bars in here, so we obviously had to watch ourselves as far as any kind of short trade. And of course, short trade is not really, we wanted to have some structure with us in order to take it. Now we did, and so that made it okay. So, but then when it sold off here and then started trade in this area, and you can see once it got below there, we had light selling in through here from an aggressive standpoint. But once we sold through here, we had a nice red bar, magentas, reds, and so forth. So very strong selling in through here. Now this was an interesting pop-up because it came right to the earlier low of the day, which is a natural area of resistance, and it did so on the heels of rejection of magenta selling and a high velocity move. But as you can see, that didn't last long either. And then once it broke through with confidence, it stayed below there pretty much for the rest of the day until it tested later here, got the pullback, and then the rally to finish the day. So a good moving day to kick off the year. Got about a 20-point range in here. We did have structure to get on the long side. We had structure to get on the short side. Now, the attempt of the market to hold below that 43 was fairly good here, fairly good, well, not that great in here, but consistently all the way through here. So this was the biggest time frame up to that point that it held below. And we had another really good time frame here where it held below, and then another good time frame here where it held below. But every time, it obviously poked above here, didn't do a good job poking above here, but did not make a new low here. And when it turned around this time and moved here and then above here, which was the top of this start of the selling in here, that was really suspect on the part of the sell side. And when we got rejection here of this magenta bar, after the market was trying to sell off again, but didn't get back down below 43, in my view, that was a really nice trade to try and get long in here after the market had failed to hold below here on all of these attempts, these 3 consecutive attempts here to hold below, where each time it was, a pretty good length of time, 45 minutes or so. And that was tying in with what we thought the auction was going into the day. So it really had some changes today. It, went into the day, well, at the close of Friday thinking down, but of course we had the overnight up. So that kind of shifted us to up with likely support in around this 43 area. Did get down in here, went right through it right in there though, and then held below it. But I think, when I look at the entire day, I really am looking at this as a failure on the part of the bears, who are really in strong control all the way down through here, to actually keep the market below that level. And they just couldn't do it. They didn't do it. And so I think this is quite a bullish development, especially on the heels of it staying below there in a substantial way on Friday. So I would take a look here at, probably support around the 47 area as the upper support, lower support probably down there back again around 43 or so. But some good opportunities today to get in on the long and the short side, and holding with the prevailing auction still gave us an opportunity, even if you wanted to trade against that, because you had some really good structure to work with. Now, the crude was an interesting day because it opened in a very strong fashion, had a good move up overnight, as you can see. This is the daily bars here. And it did move above. This is the 57.54.74 is the top of this selling gap. and we haven't taken that out for a long time, since last summer. So you can see here, we did have a test in here about a month ago, and then we had this other slightly higher test today that in essence failed, and we took out all of the lows from the last, well, it was last week at least, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, last 2 weeks. And really the next target down here is at 51.10, and then it's right in here at 50.68. If these don't hold, I would say short term would be down. I personally don't. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of weight on the market, and it can, and I'm suspecting that it will have some continuation down. Fairly weak close here, but I'm still looking bullishness until I'm talking a longer time frame swing type trade basis. Unless it holds below that 50.68 area, then we're more down, and who knows, what it could do at that point. And here's the profile. You can see just, excuse me, a huge sell-off with single prints basically all the way down here. Finally got some doubles here, a couple singles in here. But that's pretty heavy selling. See, this is last week's trading, so took out all of that. And then the week before. Yeah, so pretty powerful down move today. When you have a day like this, you really should get at least some follow through the next day. If we don't get any, then it could just be very short-term profit taking. It would, then it's probably going to turn around and really start moving up. But as it stands right now, it's it's obviously a lot of pressure on this market here. So we had 24 as the overnight high, and it did come up to 20. Couldn't take out the overnight high, even though we had a blue bar here. Then we had this magenta bar here. Now, its high got tested here with a buying bar that decelerated. And then the low of this came through here, and also shortly thereafter, the low of the very first bar of the day, which was the blue bar, got taken out. And you can see it was first tested here with the red, but then we had two consecutive very aggressive bars of red and magenta, which took the market down below that support. And whenever we get a break of support or resistance with very strong conviction like that, as long as it stays below that area where I've got the two horizontal lines right in here, which was the earlier low here and then the low of the day, starts trading below it like that, that's really exhaustion confirmation, and powerful selling on that confirmation when you take a look at these, as I said, this pair of the red and the magenta right there. So very strong selling. And as you can see, we got magentas here. None of their highs get taken out, all the way down here, all the way down here. This one, it finally got tested to the high. And even this last magenta here never got its high tested in this magenta as well. So I do expect this area as our initial resistance, just around the 52.60 area, and then the next one up around 52.80. I would say the next one is probably up in here, just above 53, and then the next one here around 53.45, and then the next one probably around here at 54.15 to 54.20. So, this is a good strong down move, and let's see if any of these areas here can actually maintain their role as resistance barriers. So in other words, they're places that we should look to get short, because it's, with a huge down move like that, we're likely to have those areas acting as resistance going into tomorrow's trade. So a nice break lower. Even now, the fact that I'm sorry, I should have marked that in there at 74. Sorry about here. This was that key area that I was referring to when we were looking at the daily. So that was the other thing that I meant to mention here. When the market did break lower, it also broke back down below that 74 level, thereby and then having the first follow through, the immediate follow through, then that actually confirming this as a failure to move up. And of course, when you have a failure, then you're likely to get good strong action in the other direction. And now that was really the key here on the crude today, was the failure to hold above 74, even off of very strong aggressive buying to begin the day with the blue bar. Very little follow through, and the follow through that we had were deceleration bars that really didn't go anywhere. and then we got the heads up with the magenta selling. So, good opportunity. I mean, that was a pretty big day. 53. What did it get down to? Below, well, almost to 52, and we were above 55. So, $3 move, that's a huge move in the crude. So, generally, when you're looking at a situation like this and you can define a vertical move, then you really want to see if you can find any times when the market rejects any selling. So when we did get that move through it right in this time frame here, in particular, you wanted to look to see if you could have any buying. Well, we did get aggressive buying there, but it was an inside bar. We did have a level 1 green on the low of the day, and then it popped up. Now, we did have some buying here. Its low gets taken out, away we go. Some buying here. Its low gets taken out, away we go. This is the blue bar. Its low gets taken out, away we go. So, I mean, there are some things that you can look at in the vertical condition. Even this kind of action here, we know that even though it's not a paint bar of aggression, this bar right here, look at the excess that was on that bar. We had the good selling in here, and then it popped up, immediately had its low taken out. So you got selling in here. I never did count this, but it's a 5, 10, 15. It's about 25 ticks of excess, and its low got taken out right away. You can jump on that. I mean, it's similar to this earlier bar right up here, the blue bar and the green bar here, where it went up and immediately took out their lows within a bar or two, and then she has another leg down. So to finish the day, we just had this big magenta bar here, and it stayed within it until very, very late in the day, and then made new lows. So if we can't continue to make new lows, look for the 60 area to act as resistance, as the first resistance. If it doesn't, it could be the start of a good move up. We've got almost at 52.80 there as this initial resistance right here. So as I said before, when you take a look at the daily, I still think this chart is good, although it's obviously got a lot of pressure on it right now. Let me just reduce the size of this so we can move on to the gold. So the gold here's the daily, and you can see we did move above the 1161.60. And this was a pretty important development in my view. You can see here since the election, of course, we've been selling off big time. We had this huge gap in here that did get erased or almost by a tick or I think it was like 5 ticks last week, and today we did erase it. And it's given us good confirmation of this buying gap down here. So, I've gone ahead and shifted the bias up short term because we have held above 1161.60. And you can see on the profiles here that, last week we had a good move up on Thursday. It sold off on Friday. It actually had a pretty good move lower, as you can see from here, just slightly above Thursday's high. But look where it got to. It did not get down to the support in here, which we did today where the market actually opened. Of course, we had a weak close there, as you can see, on Friday, had a little bit of follow through overnight, and then heading into the very early market today before it turned around, had a really nice move up. So you can see it here. I placed the black line straight across there because that's the 1161.60. That is the recent selling gap high. We came very close to it there on Friday. Here was the sell-off. We had a little bit of that continuation here early in the day. We had offsetting high velocity moves. And we know that the second one tends to be the direction the market goes in. Well, it certainly did. It had a nice bounce here up into this area of likely resistance. And then it backed off and it came back down into this area again when it sold off here with some pretty good sting to it, red and magenta. But once that was taken out, and this time it was taken out with a blue bar on the heels of the high velocity move, and then once this new high gets taken out, it really had a nice run up. Now we had another high velocity move here as it got really close, went sideways, and then another high velocity move, moving above 61.60. We did not have any aggressive selling in here at all, so I went ahead and placed a trade right in here and right in here. And with the stop just below the blue bar below here, so it kept me in the trade, which would have been another good place to enter right in here. I did not, but it probably would have made sense. and then the market did rally up. So it eventually hit our first target of 30 ticks, and then I think we're stopped out at 4 ticks on the second half. But I did post that trade if you want to take a look at it. So at any rate, I think the shift, we do have a shift in gold here, at least short term, because we've totally erased it and then held above it. It's even though I've shifted it like that, I think it could still back off because we did hold here for a good roughly an hour to finish the day, but doesn't mean to say it couldn't dip back down. So just kind of be careful of that. And the reason I'm saying that, of course, is when you take a look at the potential excess here, it's quite a bit. Now we did get back down, but look at how long that took. It took about 20 bars, roughly 45 minutes or so, to get down just to test the bottom of this blue bar right here, which had that huge move there in a 2-minute period, moving up to 66 from basically 59, 60. It's like a $6, $7 move in 2 minutes. So, but it just seems to me that the rejection that we had here of this, and then the sell-off, and then the move above that, in other words, rejecting this selling as well, is really quite bullish for the market. As long as we can hold above there for the time being, I could easily see it coming back down to the 59 and change area, which was this low here. And it could very well act as support and still keep us in the bullish mode. Anyway, there's some ideas in the markets today. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow.